I'm in a bit of shock right now, I think, but very proud of the team that I was a part of, and you know, feel that justice was brought and the truth was brought forward, and I feel very proud of that.
A flood of emotions in there when it was read.
Yes.
Sitting next to family members.
Yeah.
Talk to me when you heard that. What went through your
I mean, I really wanted to wrap my arms around everybody that was on, you know, that was with us and behind us, because it's been so many years, obviously, and so much pain for everybody, you know, not just me. It's been hard for everybody, you know. The community was betrayed, and my family suffered a lot and worried about my well-being all of those years, and so, you know, I felt happy for everybody that they could sigh of relief and know that this came full circle, you know, for everyone, not just me.
And the judge talked about how this all hinged on the credibility of your story.
He did, yeah.
And so, what do you think the judge saw when you took the stand?
I mean, what I think he saw and what I hope he saw is just the truth. You know, he just saw somebody, he saw, you know, myself telling the truth and telling my story as, you know, accurately as I could, and just being honest. I think that he was able to see that, and I'm glad. That's all I could have asked for, was for him to hear my story, hear me out, and trust that I was, you know, being honest.
Talk about that moment, you know, when that verdict did come down. I mean, did you think that a guilty verdict was coming, or were you unsure? I mean,
I was unsure in the sense that while I was listening to him, I couldn't really, you know, gauge where he was headed, but I think he did a really wonderful job, and I felt defended by him, and I felt like he honored me, and he honored what I went through, and I was very grateful for that, truly. And you know, so I had a sense that that was the direction he was headed, because I couldn't imagine him saying all of that and then not heading in that direction. But certainly, when the verdict came, it was emotional. You know.
When you say the judge said he kind of, maybe you felt that he thought you had sympathy to how you felt. How did you feel over these years? How did you cope with this and get through this?
I mean, it took a really long time. You know, it was a lot, like we've said up there, it was a lot of therapy. I moved to California and tried to essentially, you know, start over and have a new kind of life. You know, I started working in stand-up and writing, and just kind of try to redirect everything for myself, build a new community, new support. I mean, that was truly the turning point for me emotionally in my journey with all of this, was when I moved to California and was able to kind of like rebuild and start fresh. And then in addition to that, just continuing therapy no matter what, and you know, trying to just restore myself, my body, emotionally, so that I could get to this place. You know.
When you say, a lot of people would say, you know, why now? Why
Yeah.
not then? Why now? Why,
Sure.
why the long time
Yeah.
that elapsed?
You know, that's a really big question, you know, and it's really loaded, and there's a lot of parts to that. You know, I think that initially for me, you can break it up into different stages because it's been so long. Initially for me, it was difficult because I wasn't well. I was sick. It affected me physically. It affected me emotionally, mentally, for a very long time. This was not like, oh, for a week, you know, you're down about it and then you move on. You know, you got a bad grade on a test. This is something that just continue to peel layers back and continues to just reveal itself to you, and you don't always feel at first that you understand the entire thing. It's very complicated when it's somebody that you know and trust and loved. So that took many, many years. Why now? I felt that he was not somebody I trusted being in the community. I didn't see evidence of somebody who was remorseful and doing everything they could to keep themselves from this happening again, and so I was presented thankfully with the opportunity to tell my story with people who trusted me and believed in me and had my back, and that gave me the confidence and to do it.
given that you uprooted your life, changed so many things about yourself, moved, you know, across the country,
Sure.
what was it like having to come back here and relive that again in the courtroom?
It was intense. I mean, seeing a lot of old familiar faces, and you know, revisiting, you know, things of my past, like the church and different things that I was a part of. It was hard. Yeah, it was really hard. But I just tried to maintain integrity and compassion for everybody involved, because like I said, no matter where you stand, it affected so many people. And I think that coming from that perspective, and also just maintaining that I have this life at home that I had to go home to no matter what the verdict was, and I'm doing everything I can, and then I'm able to go home and focusing on that is kind of what got me through.
What about being in the same room with him? Being on that witness stand, looking him in the eyes.
Yeah, that was difficult. Yeah, it was difficult to see him at first, and then I just found other people to look at. I had this awesome team, to look at, and I think just if you can constantly remind yourself that you have support and look at the people who are there supporting you, it just lessens the threat or the fear that you have of it makes this person very unthreatening because they're just a singular being, and you have all of these other people who are there with you.
What was your reaction when the defense sort of made these claims that your profession, you're a storyteller, and maybe this was just a big story?
I mean, I thought, it was a nice effort. It was just a far reach, I felt a little bit. I'm a comedian, first before any of my other, endeavors. And so the thought of coming up with this dramatic of a story sounds daunting and not like something I would probably be interested in. I write jokes, not really, dramas. It's just it was a little ridiculous to me, to be honest. But, I understand that they've got a job to do and they were just trying to do that. But, I just, there's no way that you could write this,
And I know you're not the one who hands down the punishment, obviously. That's
Right.
up to the judge, and the judge will take care of that. But is this vindication enough for you, or what is it you'd like to see happen to him at this point?
I mean, ultimately, the hope would be that he is prevented from working with youth. That's my ultimate goal, and I think that we can all agree that that's the goal, is that he doesn't have access to youth. So in terms of, what the repercussions are, the consequences for him, I trust the criminal justice system will do what they deem right and fair. And so, the best I can hope for is that he's prevented from working with youth and coming in contact with kids in any way, shape, or form. And by kids, I truly mean young adults, teenagers, younger. I think that, saying that somebody's an adult when they're 18 may be technically true, but we all know that, that we're still kids, basically, at that point. So we can prevent that, which I think is what we've started the process of today by getting the conviction, then I'm happy.
How do you feel about him getting some prison time?
I would say that I would be, if that's what the judge feels, is fair and appropriate, I am for that.
If you could say anything to him or what would you say?
I mean, I wish his family well. I think that they must be going through a hard time, and I hope that they cling to one another and, lean on each other for support through this. I know that can't be easy. And I don't wish any harm on his family whatsoever. They were always quite kind to me growing up, and I have good memories of them. So I don't wish any ill on them.
Does this finally, you think, bring you closure in all of this, knowing that he's finally been convicted for this?
It does in a huge way. Yeah, it's definitely changed. This whole process has changed my life. I mean, they've all changed my life. Having that support and having people believe you and listen to your story and see that it's true and stand behind that is amazing. It's incredible closure emotionally. And it definitely satisfies my need to feel like I've done everything I can to prevent him from a repeat offense.
Were you prepared for a not guilty verdict?
I tried to prepare myself, yeah, of course. I didn't know which way it was going to swing. So yeah, I tried to run through all of that, the escape route, like, how are we going to get out fast enough? But no, I definitely tried to prepare for that. But I tried to maintain that whatever the verdict, and I think, Paul was great in telling me that, whatever the outcome, we've told our story, we've done everything we can, and we should be proud of that. And no matter what, this will affect his ability to, in the community, to work with kids. So